I would like to make a statement on claims relating to an ongoing counter-terrorism police investigation that were reported in the Sunday Times yesterday, Sunday the 10th of September. The story alleged that 2 individuals, including a parliamentary researcher, have been arrested on charges of conducting espionage on behalf of China. Mr. Speaker, these are serious allegations, and it is right that they are being thoroughly investigated by the police and relevant agencies. We must not hamper their work or prejudice any future legal processes by what we say today, as I believe, Mr. Speaker, you said at the beginning of today's proceedings. As you would expect me to say, Mr. Speaker, it would therefore be inappropriate for me to comment on any specific aspect of this active investigation itself. I would, however, point the House to what the Metropolitan Police has said in its own statement, namely that the investigation is being carried out by officers from the Met's Counter-Terrorism Command, which has responsibility for investigations relating to allegations of Official Secrets Act and espionage-related offences. Of course, any decision as to whether to proceed with a prosecution under the Official Secrets Act and related legislation would be a matter for the Crown Prosecution Service. Mr. Speaker, it remains an absolute priority for the government to take all necessary steps to protect the United Kingdom from any foreign state activity which seeks to undermine our national security, prosperity, and democratic values. The government has been clear that China represents a systemic challenge to the United Kingdom and to our values. This has been evidenced in China's continued disregard for universal human rights and international commitments in Xinjiang, their erasure of dissenting voices and stifling of opposition under their new national security law in Hong Kong, and disturbing reports of Chinese coercion and intimidation in the South China Sea. Mr. Speaker, we are clear-eyed about that challenge, and we must be able to look the Chinese in the eye and call out unacceptable behaviour directly, just as our Prime Minister was able to do with Premier Li at the G20 in New Delhi this weekend, an approach that has also been taken consistently by our Five Eyes allies. But, Mr. Speaker, actions speak louder than words, and that's why I took the decision to instruct departments to cease deployment of all surveillance equipment subject to China's national intelligence law from sensitive government sites in November last year. It's one of the reasons why I banned TikTok from government devices. It's why the government has investigated and called out so-called Chinese overseas police service stations, and, as my right honourable friend, the Security Minister, set out in a statement to this House in June, have instructed the Chinese embassy to close them. It's why we have significantly reduced Chinese involvement in the UK's civil nuclear sector, including taking ownership of China's stake in the Sizewell C nuclear power project. And it's why, as Digital Secretary, I took the decision to ban Huawei from our 5G networks. And, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon, in the other place, the procurement bill is being debated, and that will include national security debarment provisions that will enable us to act where we see malign influence in our public procurement. In taking this approach, we are aligned with our Five Eyes allies and other G7 partners, indeed every single G7 partner. So, the United Kingdom will deploy again an aircraft carrier to the Indo-Pacific in 2025. We have announced AUKUS, a new security partnership that will promote free and open Indo-Pacific that is secure and stable. And we will work with Italy and Japan through the Global Combat Air Programme to adapt and respond to security threats of the future through an unprecedented international aerospace coalition. Mr. Speaker, these Houses of Parliament stand as a monument to the freedoms of expression and belief that underpin our values. But just as these institutions have provided the paradigm for so many modern democracies, there are still those who fear such freedoms and who seek to undermine them and to interfere in our society. We maintain constant vigilance in our efforts to understand and root out this interference, and we will always take action to address it, whatever its source. In 2022, the government established the Defending Democracy Task Force. This group works to coordinate across government to protect the integrity of our democracy from threats of foreign interference. The task force is engaging across government with Parliament, the UK's intelligence community, the devolved administrations, local authorities, the private sector and civil society on the full range of threats facing our democratic institutions. These threats do include foreign interference in the electoral process, disinformation, physical and cyber threats to democratic institutions and to those who represent them, foreign interference in public offices, political parties and our universities, and transnational repression in the United Kingdom. And earlier this year, the government also passed the National Security Act. This has overhauled legislation applicable to espionage, sabotage, and any persons acting for foreign powers against the safety and interests of the United Kingdom. The measures in the Act will enable our law enforcement and intelligence agencies to deter, detect, and disrupt the full range of modern-day threats, including from China. New offences in the Act will enable the disruption of illegitimate influence conducted for or on behalf of foreign states, whether designed to advance their interests or to harm the United Kingdom. Mr. Speaker, the United Kingdom government will do whatever it takes to protect our national security and this nation's democratic institutions, which have stood for centuries as a beacon of liberty, from wherever that threat may come. Mr. Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
Right.